Don't walk into a house with blood on the floor. Learn how to use a fire extinguisher. Learn how to drive. Don't get on a plane in the apocalypse. And don't fight nothing that looks like this, bruh. That's the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe. No, I'm just playing. These are just a few things I learned from The Last of Us. Simple things, useful, you know what I'm saying? But they simple. The Last of Us is my favorite video game of all time. I've never played a game that made me feel so many different things at once. Well, let me take that back. Mortal Kombat was kind of lit. Mortal Kombat was kind of lit. You know what I'm saying? They had Katana, they had Jade, you know what I'm saying? They had Melina, you know what I'm saying? Without the teeth, without the teeth. Well, keep the teeth. You know, regardless, we're not here for that. Back to it. But The Last of Us was a special time for my 13-year-old self. You know what I'm saying? I was already in love with everything apocalypse. I was a weird kid. I liked anything Left 4 Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Living Dead, Dead. If it was dead, I was there for it. So when I found out they was making a Last of Us show, you know what I'm saying? I threw up. From excitement, of course. Aside from it dealing with zombies, what I loved about this show so much is that it touched on like complexities of topics that we all experience. You know what I'm saying? Like love, family, self-preservation, purpose, all of that, right? But the one that resonated with me the most, that I feel like I needed to talk about, was this idea of hope. I know it's simple. You might be thinking, what's so complex about hope? Hope, you know what I'm saying? Hope is pretty simple. We love hope. Everybody wants hope. Hope is great, right? No. Okay? Hope. I'm sorry, that was aggressive. That was very aggressive. But hope is not all good, bro. What did my man from Shawshank Redemption say?
Hope. Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane.
Shout out Morgan Freeman, bro, been like 88 for 11 years. But I digress. Hope can be scary, bro. No one wants to admit it, and a lot of people not even aware of it, but like, hope can be terrifying. To put it in simple terms, it's like, you think you bodied the test at school, right? You know what I'm saying? You left out of that spelling test. You spelled all your words right. Spelling all your words right, you know what I'm saying? Boundaries, BOUNDAREES, you know what I'm saying? Body, 100%. You know what I'm saying? Tissue, tissue? TISHU. You know what I'm saying? Body, you turn that mug in, 95% at least. No, actually, I think I aced it. You get it back on Monday. Teacher talking about 17%. Bro, can you believe that? When you thought you was gonna get a puppy for Christmas because you was leaving little hints around the house, and you was watching Marley and Me in front of your parents every day. You watching All Dogs Go to Heaven all day. You playing Who Let the Dogs Out all day. Then Christmas come around and you end up with some drawers that got dogs on them. See what happened there? You got your hopes up. Now you on top of the roof trying to figure out what to do next. But not for real, people fear hope. They might not even know it, but hope is like the driving force behind a lot of our decisions. So it could lead to us taking more drastic emotional risks. Because think about it, you do certain things because you hope that they can come to fruition, right? You have hope that they could happen. You apply for a job because you think you can get it. You go to the gym because you think it's gonna give you the mental and physical benefits. You know what I'm saying? You think you're gonna leave out of there with pecs and abs and all that. You ask that girl because you got a little glimmer of hope. And she might say yes, bro. If you watching this, I know you get all the girls, bro. I don't. Help me out. Drop a pickup line in the comments, bro, because I need help. I'm desperate. But like I was saying, having high hope, or at least a little bit of hope, can make you take those risks. But the thing about risk is they can lead to embarrassment or feeling a failure down the line if you feel like you made the wrong decision or the risk didn't pay off in the end. For example, leaving or starting a relationship, changing jobs or your career, maybe moving somewhere, buying a new house, starting a new project that's outside of your comfort zone, anything else that can spike your anxiety through the roof that might not pay off. Because I read somewhere that the pessimist says, like me, I'm the pessimist. The pessimist says that hope can actually lead towards the greatest disappointment in life. So if you don't hope for anything, then you can never be disappointed. Like my wife Zendaya said,
expect disappointment and you will never get disappointed.
Expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed. Preach, wifey. When things go bad, you're not caught off guard because you didn't expect it to go good in the first place. That's how we treat a lot of things. Relationships, careers, just, I don't know, video games. We condition ourselves to think that keeping our hopes low is the best thing we could do for ourselves because it, you know what I'm saying, it keeps us warm. It keeps us cozy. It keeps us, you know what I'm saying, like, it keeps us safe and comfortable, you know? Because look, people traditionally categorize emotions into two different categories. We got positive emotions, we got negative emotions. Good, bad, you know what I'm saying? Happy is good, sad is bad. Simple. But I would argue personally that emotions are a lot more complex than this. A positive emotion like hope can be scary, while a negative emotion like envy could actually make you take useful action if you see somebody that's living a life or see somebody that has something that you want. If you envy them, you might work to get what they have. And when you think of emotions you like to avoid, you think of the negative ones first, like panic, dread, guilt, despair. But for some people, hope can be a terrifying emotion that people tend to avoid without even knowing it. Now, what I'm saying isn't complex, but it can be tough to picture if you don't really grasp what I'm saying. That's why I love The Last of Us so much, because it paints that picture so well through its story and through its characters. And throughout the story, it's a lot of different characters that represent different concepts within the realm of hope. And first, we got to start with the legend himself, Gerard Butler. My bad, Joel Miller. If you you unfamiliar with the story, then I'll give you a quick rundown. By the way, this video is one big stupid spoiler. So like, if you ain't seen the show and you want to and you don't want none spoiled, save this to your watch later. You know what I'm saying? Click the watch later, watch the show, and then come back to me. I will be here. So after my man Joel Miller loses his daughter at the inception of the cordyceps fungus outbreak, 20 years later, now a hard and closed off smuggler / killer, Joel learns to find the love he once had for his daughter and a little girl named Ellie. The special thing about Ellie is that she's immune to the virus. So Joel, being the revered smuggler that he is tasked with safely escorting her across the country in hopes that her blood contains the cure for the virus. During this long cross-country journey, Joel as well as us as the players develop a strong bond with this girl. She becomes the void that was lost after the death of his daughter. However, once we get to the research facility, we find out they have to kill Ellie in order to successfully develop this cure. Now this is where it gets interesting, because by this time we done played this game for like 13 hours. We done traveled from Boston to, I don't know, California, I don't know where, Wyoming, where, I don't know, it don't matter. But by the time we get to the end, I feel like this is my daughter. I feel like I raised this girl, you know what I'm saying? Imagine how Joel feels. So unable to go through another loss of a daughter, Joel proceeds to kill everybody in the research facility to retrieve Ellie before they're unable to perform her. He killed everybody, y'all. No! Y'all seen it. Okay. So long story short, he gets her out of there and the world is a better place. That's a damn lie. The world is still a hellhole. Actually, more than it would have been if we didn't do what we did, if I'm being honest. This ain't about the world. It's about Joel and Ellie and me. I couldn't do that. Just leave her there. What I look like. Now, how does Joel represent this idea of hope? The complex idea of hope. Well, shut up. Relax. I'm about to tell you. When we meet Joel, he's pretty normal. You know what I'm saying? He's a father. He's a brother. He's a pretty hard-working man. He has ambitions to own his own business. He's a normal dude, right? We can see that through the monotonous day-to-day life he lives in the typical father-child interactions that he has with his daughter, Sarah. But after Sarah dies in his arms, we flash forward 20 years later and see that he is not the same man that he used to be at all. He's completely emotionally closed off. He's cold, ruthless, damaged. You know what I'm saying? He literally couldn't give two about anything. So much so, when we see him working in the quarantine zone as a body disposal person, we see him able to pick this little boy's dead body up and throw it into a fire pit with no expression, emotion at all. Doesn't even acknowledge it for real. And this parallel of him holding two dead children in his arms just demonstrates the contrast of who he was 20 years ago versus who he is now. He's disconnected and there really isn't much more that he cares about. His feelings are dead and the only thing he's living for at this point is ration cars, you know what I'm saying? Tess might be the only person he has at this point. Sarah's gone, Tommy's gone. Tommy's not dead, but he's not in his life at this point. So for Joel, what is even life at this point? At this point, I feel like Joel's at the point that I would call hopeless. He has no faith in anything. His faith in just about everything is destroyed, right? Now, it's safe to say Joel's in a pretty extreme state of hopelessness. A lot of us don't reach that. He's in a pretty dark space. But on a general level, we all been there. Some of y'all been through heartbreak. Some of y'all been disappointed over the outcome of something. Or you just plain aimless in life. It can be tough. I get it, 100%. However, when we're in situations like these, I feel like it's our responsibility to try to find that spark. Anything that gives us reason. Anything that gives us... Oh, snap. Anything that gives us reason. Anything that, you know what I'm saying, gets us out of bed. Anything that, you know what I'm saying, might put a little pep in that step, you know what I'm saying? For you, this might be like a new hobby, a new passion, a person, anything that could just flip that switch. And he doesn't know it initially, but for Joel, this spark came from a little girl named Ellie. Like I said before, Ellie is the 14-year-old girl that resembles any glimpse of chance for humanity to prevail. I rock with Ellie. I like her. She a little firecracker. She's temperamental, I'll say. She's violent, you know what I'm saying, a little impulsive. You know what I'm saying? I can get that way, so I can relate. But there's also this innocence to her that like grounds her back to being a 14-year-old girl. I think this edge that we see in Ellie, it kind of separates her from what we saw in Sarah. Sarah was so innocent. She could do no wrong, right? But honestly, I think in a way, Joel kind of appreciates this quality of Ellie that we just didn't get to experience with Sarah. Now, the end of the first episode, I believe, is where we see the first glimpse of Joel's humanity reviving in itself. That scene when Joel, Ellie, and Tess trying to sneak out of the quarantine zone, they get stopped and threatened by that military officer that we meet early in the episode, the druggie, the drunk, the addict, the fiend, him. After he apprehends them, he scans them each in order to check whether they're positive or negative for the virus. Ellie, knowing that her test will be positive, proceeds to stab the officer in the leg before he's able to scan her. Now, when he stumbles back and points his gun and prepared to kill Ellie, Joel steps in front of her to protect her. But slowly his memory flashes back to the situation, that mirror vision seconds before his daughter's death. At that moment, Ellie becomes a rebirth of Sarah, and Joel couldn't stand to see the death of another daughter of his. So what does Joel do? Joel goes crazy. He tackles this dude, hit him with like 20 right hooks. You know what I'm saying? Kicked him through a rock in his face, started a car, ran over his face. He went crazy on my bed. My man's face is probably looking like Forky, you know what I'm saying? Sid. But it was this scene where that intrinsic love that was hidden in Joel kind of shows his face again. It needed that right catalyst to bring it out. We also see how much love, especially the love that a parent has for their child, is like, it's primal. It could lead to most intense fear, therefore it leads to the most intense reactions and behaviors. At this point, Joel still doesn't know Ellie. Ellie, so he hasn't opened himself up to her. But we know that there's that innate fatherhood that he still has that just hasn't left. And this parental love and instinct only grows over the course of the journey that he experiences with Ellie. We see that he'll grow to love her more and more, but subconsciously he doesn't want this love to exist because he doesn't want to experience the same thing that he did with Sarah. And soon Joel will grow to find out hope can be scary, and it only opens us up to the biggest disappointments. And in order to protect his heart and his sanity, Joel would rather not do it. Because for Joel, Ellie represents something very dangerous because she's a 14-year-old girl just like Sarah. And this 14-year-old girl, this fragment of hope is just thrown on Joel before he's even ready for it. Now that sounds good, but with the appearance of hope is the disappearance of peace. Now that you started to feel again, now that someone's introduced in your life that you could care about, comes with it this newly unlocked fear of losing them. And now that you let yourself hope again, you risk being disappointed again. Because deep down, Joel's concluded that it's better to have never loved than to have loved and then lost. Because with Sarah's death, Joel used to take comfort in knowing that the worst was over. The worst possible thing that a parent could experience is over. But with the emergence of Ellie, now Joel's afraid again that the worst is yet to come, or repeat itself in Joel's case. Forget life-threatening heroics and clickers and all that. The most scary, insane thing a person probably could do in a world like this is to love. Because sometimes the grief and the sadness is the only thing that you have that remains of the person or the thing that you're sad over. And when there's an opportunity or invitation to love again, or to feel joy or connection or hope or something, it breeds fear. And this fear will strip away all rationality, and it'll interrupt the ability to take reasonable action and make reasonable decisions. It's funny, I think Joel's aware of how much he's rejecting Ellie. Because in the beginning, he's trying so hard not to get involved with her. He even saying hurtful
You need to stop talking about this kid like she's got some kind of life in front of her.
like, okay, Joel. Even after Ellie gets bit that second time, what does this man say?
About the kid. Maybe the first bite didn't take. And what about the second?
Maybe the first bite didn't take, but the second did. What type of fraudulent zombies are these? At this point, you've been in the apocalypse for 20 years, bro. When you ever heard of a zombie take, it need 2 bites. You never seen somebody get bit and then be like, oh, dang, at least he didn't get me twice. No, they just turn. I digress. It's whatever. But I get it, though. He's being overly cautious for safety reasons as well. But he's also wired to be reluctant to express optimism, because optimism and hope can lead to someone taking these dangerous emotional risks. But Joel even gets on Tess' bad side because he's so unwilling to look at the bright side of things. Like, she gets angry at his inability to see something potentially good, right?
And what about the second?
Why don't you just take the good news?
Because the scene where Ellie got bit, again, is the same scene where Tess got bit. So she's not mad at Joel simply for just being cynical, but like, she's like, bro, I just got bit. I'm about to die. Everybody that I loved and got bit, they died. And it didn't take 2 bites, Joel. So she's saying, can you please just imagine a world where this stuff like this does not have to happen to anybody else?
Can you do that? Like to think for once maybe we could actually win?
Maybe we can actually win. That's very important, because a lot of us, like Joel, think that just because we may have lost in the past means that we can't or we don't deserve to bounce back in the future. When that's not the case, the past literally has nothing to do with your ability to move on, to move forward. The past and the future are 2 isolated eras. So we can't use past events as criteria for what we think we deserve. That job that you got fired from has nothing to do with the new career that you're pursuing. The new relationship that you want has nothing to do with the last relationship where the girl did you grimy. Because I know she did you grimy, bro. There's a saying from Tess that I really like that she said before she died.
Say who you can say.
The creators of the show talked about Joel being a savior and how dangerous that is. Because in this instance, Joel's a savior, but he's trying to save somebody that he can't save at all. He's trying to save somebody that's already gone, which is his daughter. But the sad truth is, she's been dead for 20 years, bro. There's no saving that. So there's this dark nature to his saviorhood. And that quote from Tess, save who you can save, is basically telling Joel, hey big bro, hey big dog, I'm about to die. I'm out of here, I'm cooked. But that kid, Ellie, she's alive and she's well. She could potentially be the key for humanity. Save her. She might as well say, hey, enough of your daughter, bro. She dead. But this girl, you have the ability to save her, so do it. And this ends up being Joel's challenge for the rest of the show. This is literally the premise of the show. Not just physically, but mentally for sure. Joel has to wrestle with not being able to let go of whatever happened in the past to be able to press forward. Because a lot of us, what stops us from having hope is our anxieties from the past and our worries that those same things that happened in the past are bound to repeat themselves because they happened before. Or we attribute what may have happened in the past with our own dignity and our own self-worth, saying like, I failed, therefore I'm a failure. I lost, therefore I'm a loser. But Tess says, no, you can't go back to the past and change it or save it, but you can save your present, which in turn will shape your future for the better. So Joel does it. He takes heed to Tessa's words and he embarks on this journey with Ellie, even though it's apparent that he's reluctant to do so, of course. And the worst part is Tess dies right before this journey, which only just is another reminder to Joel, like, having emotional connection is nothing but just a dangerous vulnerability because you just open yourself up. He opened himself up to his daughter, she died. He opened himself up to Tess, now she's dead. So now you want me to open myself up to Ellie, only for what to happen? Quick side note that still contributes to the overall point, but I think is insane. I don't know if you noticed, but the creators of the show created backstory for Tess. They never showed it or mentioned it in the game or in the show. In that backstory, like Joel, Tess was a parent. She was a mother and she was a wife. She was a mother to her young son and a wife to her husband. Unfortunately, her son and her husband were both infected. They got the 2 bites. They got them 2 bites that Joel was talking about. And sadly, she knew she had to kill him. It just had to be done. So that's what she decided to do. She killed her husband. You know what I'm saying? But interestingly enough, she could not bring herself to kill her own son. So what did she do? She locked this man in a basement. This was 20 years ago. She locked him in a basement where, in theory, he's still down there doing push-ups or whatever zombies do when they chained up. She locked him in the basement where, in theory, he's still down there clicking. I think he a bloater at this point. That's just a theory. I don't know what clickers do on they downtime. I don't know if they do push-ups. I don't know if they work out. But your son been marinating for 20 years. I think he a bloater. I think he's a bloater. That's crazy. But I'm telling Tessa's backstory to say she had a child in this world too. She lost a child in this world. She's not different from Joel, but she contrasts Joel because she's brave enough to dare to hope again. She's brave enough to hope for something better, even though she lost something too. Even though she's still holding on to some trauma too, the same way Joel is. Because unlike Joel, at this point, Tess already believes. She's trying to protect and keep this kid because she believes. But Joel's, on the other hand, he was ready to 100% take this girl back, ship her back to the QZ. Well, she was probably gonna be killed. She was probably gonna get killed.
This is our best shot. The QZ, someone's gonna notice her arm. They're gonna scan her. Then they'll kill her.
Well, better them than us.
Better them than us? That's the best you had? Okay, bro. But now, let me say this real quick. A little side note. Tess, leaving your son in the basement is crazy. I get it. It's not easy. I understand. But I would have needed some type of closure. I can't just leave my little in the basement. Oh my God. I would have had to have my husband shoot him and then shoot himself. But I'm not going to leave him. My God. Okay. All right. So what does Tess represent in this overall concept of hope? I think she represents something that's very underrated. She represents audacity. Tess represents how powerful it is when you surround yourself around positivity, whether that be positive people or positive, you know what I'm saying, books, whatever. She represents what can happen when you're granted the audacity to hope and to try. Because keep it 100, without Tess, Joel would have left Ellie back at the QZ where she was, to this day, been singing ABCs and counting 10 or whatever.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fuck you.
Sometimes audacity and self-esteem isn't really about the self all the time. Sometimes it takes somebody to gas you up and make you see something good in yourself that you didn't realize that was in there. Or they make you realize that you deserve to do something far-fetched and crazy because you're qualified to do so. You're qualified to be crazy sometimes. They might see something in you that you're too blind to see in yourself, or that you see in yourself, but you push it. You refuse it. And I think that's who Tess is for Joel. Now, another character I'm not gonna harp on too long, but he kind of represents the same theme as Joel is this dude Bill.
Not today, you New World Order jackboot fucks.
Now you kind of have to know Bill and his whole little story because I'm not gonna get into it too much. But like Joel, Bill was also closed off and careless when everything just went to trash, right? This man found enjoyment from making DIY zombie booby traps. This man laughing and eating popcorn and whatever. Bro, he's weird. This man was paranoid and mad distrusting. He would have been cool if he never ran into anybody, had a human contact ever again. It wasn't until he came across Frank that his outlook on life changed. Frank allowed Bill to love. He allowed him to heal. Because of that, Bill became more emotionally open, which allowed him to finally trust somebody. In the letter that he left Joe after he dies, he says,
I used to hate the world, and I was happy when everyone died. But I was wrong. Because there was one person worth saving. That's what I did. I saved him. Then I protected him.
Yes, you will feel hopeless at times, but what Bill's letter is saying is that it's our job that we don't ignore the good things that come into our lives, and that if we really want something, that we protect it, we love it regardless of whatever may challenge that. But on the flip side of representing hope for Bill, Frank represents the burden of hope. Just like Ellie. Bill and Joel were both their own versions of zombies, right? They went through everyday life just soulless and just empty. That is until somebody came along for both of them that opened them up again, allowed them to be human again. Bill's story with Frank was pretty much the mirror image of Joel and Ellie's, minus the romance, of course, because okay, bro. But in order for Joe to embrace this new love for Ellie, he had to first decide for himself that it's possible to love someone the way he loved Sarah. But this didn't happen until he accepted it for himself. Bill and Joel's stories both carry out the same idea that when you love someone, you could end up with immense loss. But on the contrary, here's what you have to gain, which usually outweighs the potential downsides. Now, do y'all remember when I said hope is dangerous? Let me explain why. In comes Henry and Sam. These two represent what could potentially happen when you go around just hoping and thinking maybe things could be good this time. Like, this is where I up. You know what this show did to me? You want to know the magic of this show? Even though I played this game already many times, right? This show still gave me hope, like something new could happen. They gave me hope that things might be different this time, bro. What scene am I talking about? What scene am I talking about? You know what scene I'm talking about. It's like, bro, I literally knew that was about to happen. But when Ellie rubbed her blood on Sam's wound, I was like, bro, they done changed a lot of stuff in this story that was different from the game. They done gave this man Bill a love story. They made Sarah black. They added haunted grandmas and stuff. Why not? They might just keep Sam alive. Right? Who knows? So that next morning when he calmly sitting on the edge of the bed just minding his own business, I was like, oh my goodness, maybe this man Sam will be sticking around. Maybe they get a happy ending like Bill and Frank too. This man was looking normal sitting at the edge of the bed. Looked like he was meditating, praying. I think this might be a happy ending. You see, that's what I mean when I say getting your hopes up can be dangerous. You set expectations only for them expectations to just be shattered. This scene played out just like it did in the game, but I cried just like I did in the game. Hold on, bro. All right, I'm good. And what was Sam's death for Joel in this instance? Sam's death was another reminder that this pain of losing somebody is something that he can't go through again. This is so sad, bro. Moving on. Now, the main mantra for this show is when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. At first, it was annoying because you heard it so much and they just plastered it all over the walls and all over the QZs, and I'm like, Fireflies, bro, shut up. I get it. This is corny though. But when you really think about it, I understand the importance of it because it really fits the theme. When you're in the dark, it's easy to just sit there because you can be comfortable in the dark. You away from disappointment, expectations, all that. It's just dark. It's like when you sleep all cozy and then somebody come in and just rip the curtains up and you like, bro, like, turn it down. And you hate it though, because you know you need to get up for school and go to work and do something productive and positive, but you rather just sit in the dark because sometimes that darkness just feels so good. It's just cozy. It's away from everything. But a lot of times it's the worst thing we could do because it keeps us stagnant. It keeps us unable to make positive change because we don't look for the light. And if you don't look for the light, you'll never find it. It's very rare for light to pop up on you. It's very rare for a spark or light to pop up on you. Sometimes you literally have to actively try to get out of the dark. Because what did our GOAT Ellie say?
If you don't think there's hope for the world, why bother going on? I mean, you gotta try, right?
At the end of the day, Ellie's the light that Joel needed this entire time. Because to Joel, Ellie is worth living for. Ellie's worth dying for Joel. She's inspired this newfound determination and is giving this man purpose again. So whether it's a new opportunity, a loved one, whatever, find that thing that inspires you to hope, to see that light in the darkness. Like, what's that thing that actually inspires you to stop stumbling through life and to actually live? Well, I sound like an author. Let me stop. The scene that I really appreciated is the giraffe scene. One, because I liked how Ellie was just able to just be a kid. You know what I'm saying? We seen this girl catching bodies. She dealing with clickers. She done seen people die. The same girl that did all that is just wowed by this creature that she's only gotten to read about. But I also love this scene because it represents the beautiful side of hope. When we watching Joel watch Ellie, yeah, it's gonna be some uglies in your journey. It's definitely gonna be some uglies. It's gonna be some hurt at times. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be told no. You're gonna be rejected. You're gonna lose people. But there's also just this beauty to look forward to if you can just see past all that and get through all of that. And that scene, just looking at the giraffe, was just like, this is the beauty after all of that struggle. I'm about to wrap this up. Moral of the story, for my fellow pessimist, for my fellow realist, you know what I'm saying? I understand you. I'm you. The idea that it would be wiser, you know what I'm saying, more realistic and even more mature way of living life would be just to try to be more logical, more level-headed, and always expect the worst because it seems like a more stable way to live. It's easy to be against getting your hopes up because the higher the hopes, that longer that fall, boy. That fall is crazy. And when things don't work out, it sucks, especially when you really thought that they will work out. It might even sound naive and just childish to go around walking around the world expecting the best. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But I will argue, here's my closing point. I will argue that people who get the most out of life are the ones that aren't afraid of hoping for something. Even if they are afraid, they can look past the shame, disappointment that they feel if things just don't work out. And in saying that, I feel like we got to get to a space where we no longer stop ourselves from expecting good things out of the simple chance that they might fail. Because let me keep it all the way 100. Let me keep it all the way 1,000. A stack. Chances are you will fail. Chances are things won't go your way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it sucks, but the thing is, that's the norm, bro. That's not a glitch in the system for things to go wrong. That's typically how things just work. You know what I'm saying? It's not only happening to you. Things are gonna go wrong more than they'll go right. It's kind of how things are supposed to work, honestly. But your ability to persevere and maintain that mentality that I deserve whatever it is that I desire, that's where the magic lies. I think there's joy and fulfillment in expecting the best for yourself and for the world. Like, whether things end up in your favor or not, I feel like you should know that it's better to exist in a space where, regardless of the outcome, hoping can lead to some of the most beautiful aspects of life. Because like I said, you don't stumble upon greatness if you just sit in the dark. Because as terrifying as hope is, I feel like life is more terrifying without it, because you're gonna be stuck. And I'd even say that the foolishness of hoping is essential to a good life. Hope inspires us to change. It inspires us to engage. It inspires us to risk and to dream. I think hope allows our fullest lives to be realized. Hope changes us in the end. So say all this to say, get your hopes up, bro. Get your hopes up.